this guy here. This is my first Blood Angel. I got him off of Cults 3D, printed him up a little bit bigger, and this is the first one that I've done with the airbrush. Alrighty, so here we are. We are back again, and we're working on our first Blood Angel. Forgive me if I didn't get the right shoulder things or the decals, but yeah, it is what it is. What we're going to end up doing now is we're going to take some lava orange and we're going to do some highlighting. So basically what we're going to end up doing is going around kind of like the edges and painting in some highlights around the edges to kind of, I don't know, get a little bit of highlight action. How about that? Okay, again, we're using the lava orange, and let's add a little bit of this. And we already shook it up real well. And now, for those of you that haven't done this before, what we're looking at is just kind of going over the areas on the edges to just kind of do a little highlight. So just start off someplace, you know, towards it isn't conspicuous, and then you can practice a little bit and just kind of draw on in that highlight. And that'll give a little bit of just a little bit of a highlight. So that's what we end up doing there. And the good thing about this is if you screw up, what you can always do is just kind of hit some water in there, clean off, and then you could just kind of go back, just kind of draw that off of there. You could say you could even kind of blend it in a little bit. So just gives a little bit of added little details there. Yeah, let's see if we can keep this in frame. Let's see if I can keep my hand steady. And another thing I found out is you can actually kind of look at how the light comes down and use that highlighted area as where you could highlight. So that might be something worth noting as well. See there, I think it turned out good. Let's continue on. part, we're pretty good on that. So you can see we got the highlights and the lines on there. Did some on the back as well. And up on the helmet, we got some high spots. And I think what we can further do is, to make this even better, is like on the black, we can do a little bit of highlighting, but we can do some highlighting with some gray, and then maybe some touches of some real lighter gray. So that way we can get kind of like the high spots, but yeah, we'll do that next. Alrighty, so what we ended up doing is getting a little bit of some highlight action using our lava orange, which I found out dries a lot quicker than some of the other paints, but not bad. Again, just add a little water, should be good to go, and we can get those little extra details in there that will kind of break up some of those colors that are just like a mass of colors. So that way we see some details. And don't worry about being 100% straight. I mean, my hands shake, and if I can do it, you can do it too. And it's kind of like where you put the brush. So, for example, if I was going to be painting, let's see, you know, on the edge of something, and what I could end up doing is wetting the brush and having the brush at this angle here, and I can just kind of run it right across that edge. And as you can see, I can get some edging on there. Whereas if I ended up doing something like, you know, load up the brush and then just try to paint straight down like this, I might go off to the side a little bit, might make some mistakes, you know, kind of do that right there, you know. So kind of depends. If you run your brush along this edge, then you can pretty much just get paint all along that edge. So as we kind of see there with the water, and it turns out pretty good. So however you end up painting, I mean, if you can paint on the edge like this and do it, then that's awesome. But another way is to keep your brush here and whatever line that you're painting, and just run the side of the brush like that, and you can get some pretty decent, I mean, that's just water obviously, but you're not going to get a lot of spills, and it doesn't take a lot of, I don't know, I found it's a lot easier to do it this way than trying to paint because my hands shake a little bit. I think everybody's does to some degree. So yeah, just some different things, and you can actually practice on some different items. So say we've got this old base, and we'll see if we got enough to reconstitute this a little bit. Load our brush up. So what we can end up doing is just running our brush just right across like that. And what we get is a pretty nice line on there. It's nice and thin, whereas opposed to trying to get our brush and trying to get perfect, you know, perfect lines all across, you know, I'm already screwing up, you know, and trying to get, because you're going to have some spillover on one side, you're going to have spillover on the other side, like we see there. But just running the brush across like this, we just get a real nice line. It's just another tip and trick to try, especially if your hands shake, then yeah, that's what we got going on. Alrighty, we'll let that dry, and we'll go back and we'll do some edge highlighting on the black portions, which will include the shoulder armor, the panels there, up on this little skull guy on the top. We'll put some little gray edging around that, and then of course on the weapons to get some little highlights on that as well. So Alrighty, go ahead and dry and we will get to the next part. Let's try this one here. It's a 000. So the hard part about this is that it actually ends up drying out real quick because there's not a big bell on it. So, but with that, what we can end up doing, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more, is that we can really put this on the side and make that line. So there you can see there we've got that pretty decent line, and that's a great thing about a brush like this is you just set it on its side and bring that down. As far as models, so we do have some on this model here, it's deformed a little bit, so yeah, we'll probably see something like that. Let's go ahead and we'll concentrate on the little thing we got here. I'll just run this across. There, you end up seeing the edging on there. And it gives a little bit more detail. So now we did that, let's see if we can get his other shoulder pad. Detail in the gun. See how that goes. The gun is going to be the same way. Here, just want to try to get the edge. Just run it across and just get kind of a real thin line. So you can see right there. And we'll just continue on. A little bit much, but who cares? Got some on the gold. So quick, wash it off. Crisis averted. We got that. I'm just going to try to get some of this highlight on the, see if we can zoom in a little bit. See if I can hold it still and just try to get a So, yeah, I think that's what we got going on. I think we're good enough for that there. So what we'll do is we'll let this guy dry, and we'll do some other touch-ups, like we got some, since I worn off some black and things like that. We'll finish that up. Okay, we're back, and we've let this guy dry a little bit, which is good. And we've got some pretty good results. So we've got some highlights on the armor in the orange. We did some highlighting on the guns, and then of course we used some gray on the black to kind of do that and bring out some details, which is really good. It gives it a little bit more depth and not just one color overall, and even highlighted his helmet. We can get this to zoom in. You can see they got the highlight there. So yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. And now what we're gonna end up doing is I think we're gonna use some of this white and just put a couple of places on here to where, I don't know, we're gonna give it a shot and see what happens. You know, worst case scenario, we'll have to just take it off and do it over. It's just kind of getting to a place of where we're just gonna put like a tiny bit of white, just like on the top there, maybe, you know, on a few places, nothing crazy, just to give it some highlight sparkle, and we'll see how that turns out. So, like right up here, we'll just put a little bit there. And we'll just a little bit. That's probably a bit too much. That's okay, because we can always just a little bit of highlight there, and we'll just add a little bit of highlight on some of these other areas where the sun would shine on it. Some very, very subtle again, we're just going to do something really light. Just try to get that in there. Some little highlight areas that we want to get. A bit too much, but I think it'll work. And up on that helmet, that's going to be interesting. Just get a little bit on there. Just a tiny bit. So we kind of get a little bit of an outline. It's not too bad. I think that can work. And then what we'll end up doing is focus. There we go. Maybe a tiny bit push that anymore. I think we're good enough. So that's what we end up having. So we'll go ahead and let this guy dry. And then I think the next step is what we'll end up doing, is since we got pretty much this, I need to learn how to do the flame, the burnt flame areas on the blaster rifles. So kind of like that heat burn that we got on there, kind of like a sepia, a purple, and then blue and like black. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. I'd really have to, I mean, I've got the colors, so, but I'd really have to water it down because I'm pretty sure just putting the paint on there, so I'm a little nervous about that. So maybe what I'll end up doing is doing a little bit of practice on some pieces and parts and see how that turns out. And then what I could end up doing is coming on to the model and doing some little burnt areas. So yeah, alrighty. So we'll just go ahead and we'll let him dry, and then we'll continue on to the next step. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date with what's going on with us, The Buried Life, as we're retired in Korea. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.